Welcome to the Baseball Insiders. I am Adam Weinrib, joined as always by FanSided's MLB insider Robert Murray for our final show before the end of the regular season. Plenty still hangs in the balance. The San Diego Padres clinched a playoff spot this week, potentially in more exciting fashion than any team ever. The NL wildcard completely up for grabs below them, though, and a hurricane might throw a severe wrench in things. It seems as if it will. Plus, the Boston Red Sox eliminated. Where does Craig Breslow go next? The gritty Tigers are winning again today, and a farewell to the Oakland Coliseum because we have to do it. Barry Zito is singing the national anthem as we speak on the field in Oakland. I did not see that coming, but I probably should have. John Fisher, you suck. And joining to talk me through all of this, to reminisce and to talk about the playoff races that are really shaping up to be end-of-week doozies, is Robert Murray. Robert, how are you doing, dude?
I am doing very well. There is nobody in sports who can phrase things quite like you, my friend. Your thoughts on John Fisher, I echo everything you just said. There is quite a good amount of emotional stuff going on in baseball. I mean, especially with the Oakland A's here and how that's going down, and how the Coliseum's getting closed down, which really unfortunate. But yeah, we got playoff stuff going on right now, which is really exciting. We're a lot of races going on, kind of some big shakeups going on, especially in the National League. I know we'll be diving into that here in a little bit, but good to be here with you as always, my friend. How are you doing?
I am good. The Yankees trying to set the record for the longest a team can potentially hold on to a magic number of 1. But other than that, we're still having a good time. It's the best time of the year. September's a pretty great month. October is better. And if you are not in the Discord for October, for the offseason, what are you doing? Join us at the all-star level if you want access to our private Zooms and priority responses in the chat to your questions on the show. Join us at the Rumor Mill tier. If you just want to get access to Robert and I between shows, we will still answer your questions. It's a great community. It's a good time. And there's also no better time to subscribe to the Moonshot, our weekly baseball email newsletter with a FanSided MLB team. That includes our own Robert Murray. Breaks down all the biggest stories in the big leagues with humor, insight, and behind-the-scenes info. So get yourself subscribed before October, before the offseason, when things really get nuts. Thanks for the update on the hat. I do think it's a nice one as well. I'm personally trying to decide right now. I really want a jersey with Oakland across the front. Will MLB stop selling those at some point? Will they heavily discount them when they become the Sacktown A's? Is there a sale I should take advantage of later in the year? Do I even really need it? I mean, the answer to that last question is no.
Yes.
But I'd really like it. So
I think you do need it. I think that's we have differing opinions. You need to get 1, maybe 2, maybe even 3. I don't know, but you need at least 1, my friend.
Yeah,
you need to make it happen.
Take my money. I'm probably going to do it. We will talk about, I think we should probably end the show with a tribute to the A's. We will, but let's talk about the races that are still up for grabs at this point. Cursory mention, I think, for the American League wildcard race, just because, man, I mean, I'm not sure if the Tigers, they had just pulled ahead when this podcast started, and yeah, they have actually finished that game off 4-3. The Tigers and the Royals both sweep their competition. That leaves the Tigers up either 2 or 3 games on a playoff spot with 3 remaining. And same with the Royals, same deal. They're both 2 up right now. Depends what the Twins do today. Last show, we were talking about the Twins losing their grip on that spot. Now that the grip is lost, the grip is gone. There's no grip. And the Twins will face the Orioles for the final series of the season. The Orioles still have, that 1-game magic number. They still could technically take the AL East from the Yankees. The Orioles might end up having more at stake in that series than the Twins, who are close to eliminated at this juncture. I mean, I personally did not see this coming. I thought they'd hold on, make the final series worth examining. The Tigers, it's going to have to win a couple games against the historically terrible White Sox to lock this up. No game is a given, but that's as close to a given as you get these days. Royals pitching is crazy. Tarek Skubal in a playoff series is crazy. It's sort of feeling like that's the direction we're headed now.
Oh, it absolutely is. And who would have thought we would have said even a month ago that the team that you wouldn't want to face in the American League or just even in a wild card series would be the Detroit Tigers? But it's the reality that we're facing right now. They are one of the hottest teams in baseball. I'd put the Padres in that category for the National League. Just absolutely just incredible turnaround by them. And we can't really speak enough to the job that AJ Hinch has done, because he's deployed his pitchers in such a unique and like in a unique way where it's maximized it. And we're now seeing some top prospects get called up with them. And it's just, they're getting hot at the right time, and they can make some absolutely real noise in this entire race here. But if you look at it, I mean, they're 8-2 in their last 10. And then you got the Royals, who they had been struggling until this previous series. But both of their magic numbers are now 2, which, I mean, they're on the verge of clinching here. And the Twins are kind of on the outside looking in, 2 games back, with only a few games remaining, which is not very ideal for them at all. But this is why we play 162 games, because a lot can go down, and it always comes down to the very end. It's happening in the American League. It is definitely happening in the National League right now. This National League race is flat out just because I thought we had the 3 teams basically set there.
Yes.
And then the Diamondbacks are like, hold my beer, and they're kind of collapsing. I know we're going to be getting to that here shortly, but the next few days are going to be absolutely fascinating, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, let's get into it now, because that is, so first of all, only one NL wildcard team has clinched, and it's the team that our commenters like us to talk about the most, the San Diego Padres. Not only do they clinch, I would call this the most exciting clinch of all time.
Yeah.
Mike Scott of the Astros once clinched with a no-hitter in '86. Those are the 2 contenders, clinched the NL West back when the Astros were the NL. So pick your flavor. I mean, clinching with a no-hitter, pretty damn exciting. But clinching with a 4-1 lead on the road at Dodger Stadium against your supreme enemy, and then suddenly it's 4-2, and suddenly Shohei Ohtani's on deck, and there are 2 men on, and there's no way out of this except for this way out of this, and they turn a triple play to end the game. It was hard not to feel like someone was watching from above there. It was hard not to think about Peter Seidler watching the Padres get the job done in a fashion that has never been done before. What do you think? I mean, most exciting clinch of all time, and sets them up pretty well for a potential extended October run, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. And like, by the way, Sports Glory, there's no new Giants updates as of this point. I just want to address that because I've seen you ask that a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the Padres go, they're the team to me that is not one of the division leaders that could easily make the most noise in the postseason here. I think they are, especially considering the second half of their season, they're the team that can really make some noise in the postseason. I would not be surprised at all if they ended up winning a couple series. I wouldn't even be surprised if they end up outlasting the Dodgers in the postseason. That's one of my hot takes, or one of my predictions for this postseason. Is I don't think the Dodgers are going to advance very far, and their pitching staff is the big reason why for me. But the Padres, to me, they are hot. They're dangerous. They're just, everything is looking good and looking up for them right now. And AJ Preller, he has gotten a lot of heat. And I remember in this very chat early in the season, even mid-season, I was having Andrew and some of these other Padres fans asking me, is AJ Preller on the hot seat? The answer to that is no. This has been his best season as GM of the Padres, and there's been a lot of really good off seasons and a lot of really good moves by Preller, but this is his best team. It's his most complete team, and this is the team of his that is most set to compete in the postseason. And I don't care if you're the Dodgers, I don't care if you're the Phillies, I don't care if you're the Brewers, I don't care who you are. The Padres are going to make noise this postseason. If this doesn't end up panning out, this is going to be old takes exposed. I am very ready for that. But I'm a believer in the San Diego Padres. Mike Schultz, AJ Preller, you name it. They have a good thing going on there.
I am too. And look, it doesn't always work over, paying a hefty price at the deadline, but AJ Preller is always going to be the guy who goes for it. And right now, talk about the package they surrendered, whatever. They have Jason Adam and they have Tanner Scott, and you don't. And so this Padres lineup is top to bottom incredible. What a rebound from last year. Dumping Juan Soto, getting great value for him. But, Juan Soto was on this team and now he isn't. The lineup is still living up to the expectations of last year, fulfilling that destiny we thought we'd see in 2023. And then when they got to the deadline, the chance to reinforce the roster, they reinforced it with 2 bullpen menaces who you can quibble with the cost, but they're on the roster now and they performed potentially. I would say Jason Adam has surpassed expectations since joining the Padres at the deadline.
Oh, he absolutely has. And like both these guys have been awesome. Like there was never real any chance that Tanner Scott could like repeat the ERA and the performance that he had in Miami this year, because he was the best reliever in baseball, at least statistically he was. But he's still got a 2.1 ERA in San Diego since he was acquired. And then you look at Jason Adam, he's got a 107 ERA and I believe 26 games. So we're talking about two dominant performances, and they gave up an absolute haul for both of these guys, especially Tanner Scott. Like I remember in the moment when they made the trade with Tampa Bay, I had found out that Tampa, I think they liked Adam Azar, but the Padres valued him too much to include him in that deal, and they wanted to save him for a potential bigger move for a guy like Tanner Scott. And lo and behold, they ended up doing that. Scott was one of their primary targets at the deadline. I can confidently report that. They wanted him. They coveted him. They wanted to upgrade the bullpen in a big way. And I know that was controversial by giving up a lot of these top prospects that they did, but they ended up doing it. It's worked out. And one thing that Preller and that front office has always done has been really good at just replenishing that farm system. And good. It's a job well done by Preller. He was definitely feeling the heat, at least publicly, but he came through and he's now got his team in position to really make some noise this postseason. So good job, AJ Preller. You should be very proud of yourself.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what you foresaw for the Dodgers, the 4 or the 5 seed, where are they going to land? They win last night. I can't even really have my sarcastic fun because it kind of feels like they're probably going to win the West. But I agree with you. I do have a lot of faith in the Padres potentially. I mean, run for their money at the very least, but I would favor the Pods right now. I would not favor the Arizona Diamondbacks in a hypothetical matchup. But at this point, I'm not sure if we even see them making it into the dance. This Mets-Braves series that we're going to talk about, that is going to, it's either going to get played for almost all the marbles or not. There may be fewer marbles at stake if the Diamondbacks continue to trip on themselves and clear a path. The Mets, who haven't won in Atlanta since I was born, lost in Atlanta again before everything got rained out. They're going to Milwaukee. Rest assured, the New York Mets have to win games, but they're also still a game ahead of the Arizona Diamondbacks right now in the loss column. And Arizona, we were talking about, man, are the 3 favorites in the NL all in the NL West at some point? Now I would say the Padres are up there, the Phillies are up there, the Dodgers lag a tier behind, and then put the Diamondbacks all the way back to the bottom tier. They are my lowest ranked playoff team on the power rankings, and I'm not sure if they make it to the end.
No, I'm right there with you. And Drew, to answer your question, yes, this is muscle milk. Happy to report that. Needed some protein before the show today.
This is water. This is water, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, water is still tasty. We like water on this program here. But this, like, to start with the Mets and Braves here, the postponement of both of those games was probably the biggest nightmare that each of these teams could have imagined, because let's say that their playoff spots haven't been decided by this point, or by the end of this upcoming series. They're going to have to play a doubleheader on Monday afternoon, and they're going to have to just think of the amount of pitchers that they're going to have to use in both of those games, because these are like do or die, like huge games for both teams. If they do that, then they're going to have a playoff game in 3 days. And exactly how ready is that pitching staff going to be for a wild card series? It remains to be seen, but that's something that I think a lot of these, or both of these teams, have to have in the back of their minds. But you look at it right now, the National League wild card picture is you have the Padres, you have the Mets, you have the Diamondbacks, and then you have the Atlanta Braves, who are a game back. And that is that's going to be very, very interesting to see exactly how that goes. Because my guess, and I'm not usually a prediction guy, but with the way that these things are trending right now, I think the most realistic scenario is you have the Padres at the top spot, then you have the Mets, then I think you have the Braves, and then it leaves the Diamondbacks as the team that's on the outside looking in. That's my guess on how this goes. But knowing how predictions have gone for the baseball insiders, or just even anyone in general who's trying to predict baseball, it's probably going to end up a little bit different than that. So baseball is easily the most unpredictable game, but quite the changes in the last week or two here, especially recently, because the Diamondbacks' collapse has been pretty epic.
It's been harder and harder to predict. And I need to see it once. I need to see the Mets go down to Atlanta once and win a baseball game before I put my faith in them. It almost felt ludicrous checking the schedule, realizing like, oh my, all this great Mets juju, all these good vibes, and yet they still have to go down to Atlanta, and I still have no faith they're going to win any of these. So they need to enter this series up like 4 or something. And they couldn't distance themselves. And as soon as they couldn't distance themselves, I was like, again, show me one win and I'll believe. But I haven't seen one. I think the Mets luck out a little bit here because they get to wait till the end of the Brewers series before heading back into the mouth of the demon, whether you get to face Sale or Fried or what have you. This also affects more than just the NL wildcard picture. Maybe a bit less so now that the Royals have swept the Nats and they have a comfortable 2 or 3 game lead heading into this weekend series. But they get the Braves fresh off some rest. Brian Snitker has hated rest the past couple of years, so maybe the Braves won't be able to hit fastballs in this Royals series, and it'll be proven that rest hurts the Atlanta Braves bats. But they now go into Kansas City, or Kansas City goes into Atlanta at some point. Again, the weather is great. I don't even know when Kansas City's flying into Atlanta, but they're supposed to go in there at some point. They have to face, they're holding back Sale for the last possible moment, but they get freed on Friday. They just announced their pitching plan. Ronaldo Lopez is coming back. Schwellenbach is in reserve there somewhere. The Royals are probably going to have to win one to clinch it, depending on what the Twins do today. And they're going to have to, I mean, that's a very sweepable series for the Atlanta Braves. Very unfavorable conditions for the Kansas City Royals. So many ramifications here, and losing these Mets games in the middle of the week mean the Braves can just sit back, do whatever they want to their rotation. Maybe pressure makes them overthink it. Maybe pressure makes diamonds. I'm not sure yet, but the Royals are swept up in something that they really don't want to be in right now either.
No, you're exactly right. And having to clinch a postseason spot when you have to face Chris Sale, Max Fried, even Schwellenbach, like who knows exactly who their last starter is going to be, but that's about as tough of conditions as you could possibly ask for. And if they end up clinching and they win one of these games, then they deserved it. Like that is beating the best. And like I think that's how you want to go in. And I want to make a comment here about Grady Sizemore, because the White Sox, obviously they're very out of it in that division. Yeah. But they're starting Garrett Crochet against the Tigers, and they're going to make them earn it by facing their very best. And I think that is an absolutely awesome thing. Like his comments before the game, before yesterday, I think it was incredible. I wish more managers were like that. I think it's refreshing. I think it's good for baseball. So I think it's just a really good thing, making a team, even despite you being out, making a team earn it by facing your very best. Like props, Grady Sizemore, good job. But I'll tell you, like the Braves, the Royals, all these other wild card teams, there's so much different drama going around. I love it. I think it's like, I like to say it's good for baseball because it is. And like this next 3, 4, 5 days are going to be freaking awesome. I can't wait. And also, if the Mets and Braves have to play this final series or play a doubleheader to determine exactly who gets into the postseason or just seeding in general, oh, that's freaking sweet. That's I'll be watching. I'll be glued. I'll have that on all 5 TVs in my living room. That's how good it's going to be.
Maybe one lags. You got to turn it off that one because you don't want it to spoil on another TV. I mean, I'm surprised MLB didn't have a contingency plan that included 2 off days here to potentially slide these in. But this was pretty unprecedented circumstances. But again, having the extra day for insurance might have helped. A doubleheader, cramming it in there just one day before the postseason begins, and then flying one team, both teams, depending on the Arizona shakeout and the way that turns out, having to send them immediately into the postseason. Best tweet I saw, though, was that, hey, if Brian Snitker hates rest, then he's got to, by proxy, love absolutely zero rest, overstressed, flying city to city to city, cramming a doubleheader in there. Like, I guess this is what he's been asking for all along. I am surprised this was the contingency plan, though. I feel like you maybe could have just given one additional off day. There's a Friday off day with absolutely no baseball at the end of this week. I maybe they should have flown him in early and played some games before the things really hit the fan. I feel like.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. I think they should have absolutely ended up having a different plan in place and different contingency. And I think having a an additional off day would have been really good for them. And like would have been smarter rather than this kind of feeling crammed and rushed in this scenario if it does play out that way. I think they could have gone about it a little bit better, but that being said, who can predict a hurricane? I guess that's what weather forecasts are for.
Yeah, there's somebody whose job that's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking for baseball. Like for baseball people, like how can you predict a hurricane? But it just so happens to coincide with this and kind of mess up some of these teams' schedules, and that Mets travel schedule, having to go from Atlanta, then to Milwaukee, then back to potentially Atlanta, and then figuring out exactly where you're going after that. That's tough. That's very tough. But that's why these guys get paid the big bucks. I feel bad for the beat writers though, because the baseball writers, we don't get paid too much, but it happens.
And best of luck to the beat writers too, who it's like, hey, so you're just in Atlanta now. You got to leave during a hurricane. Good luck with all that. Like for one more of this, you're gonna have to do some remote coverage. I think maybe MLB TV streams, because I don't think you're leaving that hotel.
No, that's tough. If you're able to get out before a hurricane like that, props. But that's not easy at all. And sending good thoughts to all those beat writers that are out there.
Yeah, I'd be writing about the sights and smells of the game, but it would just be my hotel. It'd be like something wafted through the air. It kind of smelled like Tanqueray rum from a mini bar. It's because it was. That is what it was. But best of luck. Yeah, don't luck. It's gonna get nuts. It's gonna get real nuts.
You're only you can phrase it like that. You're good at that. I tip my cap.
You want to talk about something that only I would be talking about on this national podcast today. The Boston Red Sox are eliminated from the postseason. That's a tough break for them. Well, all the fans boycotted when they didn't sign Jordan Montgomery anyway, so I guess they didn't even watch the season. Kind of not a tough break at that point. But this is going to be an extremely interesting team this offseason. I actually do think it's valuable to talk about them because based on what the what the Twins, I'm equating the Twins with the worst team in baseball this year for good reason, because they've looked awful for the last month. But the White Sox have collapsed. The Royals collapsed prior to this series. The door was wide open for the Red Sox to go grab a wild card berth with a hot September. They might finish over 500 for the year. They were 11 up at the break, 11 over 500, and they're currently lingering right around 500. That's a bad job by Alex Cora and company. They're going to bring a lot of talent out of that roster next year if they don't do anything in the offseason. Roman Anthony is ready. Christian Campbell might be ready. Minor League Player of the Year, Baseball America. Kyle Teal is ready. Marcelo Meyer is close. Really talented AAA team. You're going to see those guys. They're still going to have some heavy lifting to do, though, to clear out some of the outfield spots for these guys. Interesting offseason for Craig Breslow. They could genuinely be a pitcher away from making a lot of noise. I think they should have made noise this year. That's my point. I think it should be upsetting to the fans they didn't make noise this year. But there's no reason to get down about next year. This is a threat pretty immediately. So what does Craig Breslow's offseason look like to you?
I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think they should have made some noise this year. And I mean, they did. They exceeded my expectations. They exceeded a lot of people's expectations. But when you're the Boston Red Sox, missing the postseason can't be the standard. Like that can't happen. And they've done that, I believe, 3 years in a row now. And they need to make some serious pushes in this offseason to get back to the postseason. And to me, those pushes, and I'm saying pushes like plural, like they need to make more than one. They need to heavily invest in this roster, especially adding a frontline starting pitcher. I think that is a clear need for them. And they do have some money coming off the books. So, I mean, that's going to help them like be able to do that. But I think a guy like Corbin Burns or a guy like Max Fried or someone in that tier should absolutely be under consideration for the Red Sox, or even if they want to make a trade. Garrett Crochet is going to be he's going to be available in trade talks again, because everything I've gathered is that the White Sox are prepared to listen on Crochet again. And I would imagine that's going to be the same case for Luis Robert Jr. Like there's going to be options available. Obviously, Crochet is going to cost quite a bit of prospect capital. I don't know if the Red Sox will be willing to do that, but his salary makes that really affordable financially. So I think it's something they should absolutely consider. But to me, ownership there has no excuse not to invest in this roster. Craig Breslow, like he can only operate with what he's working with, or like the budget he's given, I should say. He has not been given that much this year. And Chaim Bloom was given that same thing. That's part of the reason why they traded Mookie Betts. So I'm curious to see exactly how ownership there like allows Breslow to spend, but they should be a contender. They need to be in the postseason again, and anything less to me is unacceptable and will fall squarely on ownership there.
I would agree. I think it's wide open. It was wide open this year, but it's wide open again next year. Let's see what you got. Boston is fed up. 3 years, no playoffs. It's normal for some cities, not for them. Well, if Boston's fed up, then the fans in Oakland are, I think the proper term for this is running around the Coliseum parking lot, dragging seats around, and rightfully so. Shout out to that legend. I am so thankful. I knocked Oakland off my stadium bucket list this year. I'd never been before. I covered a game there. Very thankful for the opportunity to have done that. This just sucks a lot. And the John Fisher letter to the community that did the bare minimum of lip service, making it seem as if he was disappointed that they were not able to make something work. I mean, so boilerplate, I guess you get a D+ for releasing it and for not staying silent and for not just brazenly saying, we're so excited for the opportunity in Sacramento and not mentioning Oakland. So congrats on mentioning the city that has won 4 world championships, that has been a heartbeat of baseball history for so long, one of the final stadiums of its kind. There would have been if they had replaced this Coliseum with a giant, shiny new spectacle downtown or Jack London Wharf or any of the locations they were exploring, there would still be uproar. We would still be upset that we had to say goodbye to the Coliseum, but it obviously would have been preferable. Stadium was outdated. Stadium was a relic. Stadium was one of a kind, but that's no reason to abandon the people. And if you think that they're going to follow you blindly to a minor league stadium in Sacramento, you have another thing coming. They can't quit congrats to John Fisher, because they can't quit the A's. It's in their blood. They're not going to be able to detach, right? So that's the luxury of a baseball owner. You can do awful things to your fan base because you have the luxury of knowing that you're going to have diehards who aren't going to go anywhere because they can't physically bring themselves to leave and stop rooting for your team and stop watching. So it gives you a license to do awful, evil things, because what are you going to do? Stop rooting, stop watching baseball? No, you love baseball. Sniveling, evil, but of course, par for the course. Some people are too young to have watched this happen in Montreal. It almost happened in Minnesota back then too. The Twins survived by the skin of their teeth. The A's don't make it out. We don't even know if they're going to make it all the way to Vegas. This is more brazen than Montreal. This is a brazen cash grab because it doesn't even have a resolution yet. And I am, all we can say is sympathies extended to the great people of Oakland and the fans in Oakland. I'm going to think about Rob Manfred responding to the reverse boycott by saying congrats to those fans. They almost got an average major league crowd in there for one game only last year. I'm going to be thinking about that for a long time too. So Rob Manfred, don't think you're getting off the hook here just because we're roasting John Fisher and A's ownership, but a sad, a fond farewell. These people are getting their moment and they deserve it, but it should never have been a farewell. This week should have been Matt Chapman should be there. Matt Olson should be there. Sean Murphy should be there. A young core, the last young core should be playing for a postseason berth this week, not in different cities as another young core that is soon to call a minor league stadium home says their farewell.
No, everything you just said, Adam, is spot on. This was so preventable, and you have John Fisher looking. It should have never gotten to this point, and he should be ashamed of himself. Rob Manfred, as you said, he is not. He's not innocent in this either. Like it's a failure by baseball, because the A's should be staying in Oakland. There should be no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But yet here they are going to Sacramento of all places, and you see the video, or you see the videos and pictures of fans like showing up to the game like hours early to tailgate and to show their support for the A's. You see the guys, or the security guys who are on the field, like grabbing shovels and pouring dirt into plastic bottles. You see people like ripping the stands out of, or ripping the seat out of the stands. And And you see so much of these different things, and it's like baseball means so much to the people in Oakland, and the fact that it's gotten to this point, and we just see how much of that city's in an uproar and how upset they are. Like, they have every right to be upset because this should have never happened. It's so unfortunate, and we've seen the Golden State Warriors leave Oakland, and now they're in San Francisco. We're seeing the A's now leave Oakland, now going to Sacramento, and who knows where they're going after that. Like, it's so unfortunate. It should have never gotten to this point, and I feel bad for the Oakland fans. And today is going to be a really special day for them, but it should have never gotten to this point. And I will say it again, John Fisher, you should be ashamed of yourself, because that is, like, I don't swear much, but it's bullshit. It is bullshit. I call it like I see it. John Fisher, it is bullshit.
Yeah. I thought I'd never hear anything worse than him in Sacramento this summer saying, I hope the fans will come out here next year and see all the great players on road teams. So beyond disrespectful. Like, oh, Sacramento, you got to come out to the ballpark, see Aaron Judge. Also, I have a team, but I don't care about them. I'm sure we'll hear something worse from him in the coming months, because I think it's about to get ridiculous. And I think, again, I'm honestly not sure if I would bet on them ever playing a game in Vegas. So let's see how that all shakes out. Good people of Oakland, we are with you always, and hope to see. Maybe I'll come out for an Oakland Roots game at the Coliseum next year. I didn't get enough Coliseum this year. I'd love to go back.
Well, and also too, I also want to give my one big memory of Oakland is I was there when I was a beat writer for The Athletic covering the Brewers. And I remember this was my first deadline where I felt like kind of connected, and I was breaking a fair amount of news. And then all of a sudden I found out the Brewers and Giants made a trade. And I had known for weeks that the sides were talking about Will Smith trade. And I even think Bumgarner may have been the topic of conversation. I don't think Bumgarner was ever happening, but I tweeted that the Brewers and Giants were in agreement on a significant trade with Mauricio Dubon going to the Giants. And I was under the impression it was Will Smith when he was in his prime. And well, it turned out to be Drew Pomeranz. And I was in Oakland when it happened. I remember afterwards getting Chipotle with Todd Rosiak, who was one of the great beat writers covering the Brewers, who is to this day one of my best friends. And we just watched my Twitter mentions, and I got so much shit. And I remember sitting in that press box that day, or that night, I should say. It was me, Rosiak, and Adam McCalvy. And McCalvy and Rosiak told me to lean into it because I was getting ripped. And I leaned into it, and it turned out to be one of the best things I could have ever done in that moment. Instead of hiding from it, I leaned into it. And I remember that moment vividly to this day. And even to this, like, even now I get texts from both McCalvy and Rosiak with just significant clowning me. I even got clowned by the Brewers at some point too. I mean, that's when you know I made kind of a boo-boo, but that was one of my big Oakland memories. It was a lot of fun, but in that moment I felt pretty small because I had the Brewers fans thinking they were getting Will Smith or Bumgarner, and it turned out to be Drew Pomeranz and also Ray Black as well.
Ray Black always, man, I felt small in Oakland too. That's a behemoth of a cement ballpark. And I was in trying to navigate around the press sections, and I somehow ended up taking the elevator. All the A's walked off the game I went to. It was JJ Bleday. It was extremely exciting. I was going to the A's locker room, I thought, to grab some sound, and I ended up outside the Toronto Blue Jays clubhouse. We're just all walking past. Chris Bassett's doing media availability. There's like 5 of us. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm a road beat writer today. Like, whatever. Who the hell knows? So, got some good quotes from Bassett, obviously a long time worked itself out, but I had no idea where I was going. I didn't know where to get out. I didn't know where anything was. One of a kind experience. You're walking past these shuttered concession stands in the outfield. I got an empanada truck. Very thankful to those folks too. A lot of hard workers at that ballpark, and it goes so far beyond the players, the fans, the people who make that game day experience happen. Our thoughts are with you, and we'll see you wherever you end up next, because we know you're not quitting baseball, and that's the saddest part. Well, we'll see here on Monday, 3:30 Eastern. Hopefully you join us. The playoff field will be set. We can do full preview, potential predictions. It gets scary, but we can't be scared. We have to be strong. We have to talk about who's going to win these series. That's what you do. That's what we're paid to do. We'll see you back here Monday at 3:30. I am Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. You can find us in the Discord. you haven't joined, Rumor Mill tier, All-Star tier. I saw somebody join during the show. Good move. Happy to see you in there, especially with the offseason on the horizon. And subscribe to the Moonshot if you have not. For Robert Murray's thoughts and the entire Fanside MLB team, breaking down the biggest stories in the big leagues with humor, insight, behind-the-scenes info. That's our weekly baseball email newsletter. Find it, put your email in, get it, enjoy. Robert Murray. Whew, one series left.
Yeah, one series left. It's going to be pretty crazy. I am very curious to see exactly what the postseason landscape looks like on Monday, and if we're having a doubleheader that day. I'm so curious. I would love to have a crystal ball, so I knew. But that's what makes baseball so exciting, because it's not predictable. But we will break it all down on Monday. We appreciate everyone who tuned in. Adam, I appreciate you. Joanne, I appreciate you as well. And we'll see you back here on Monday.
Let's go, everybody. See you on Monday.
Thank you, everybody.